But Chief, focus talk about Tata Steel and their strategy to decommoditize steel, more value-added steel for Tata Steel. Also, are we entering a commodity super cycle after what we've already seen play out for almost a year now? So a lot of talking points. Let me welcome on board Piyush Gupta, Vice President Steel Marketing and Sales at Tata Steel, on the show right now. Piyush, hi, good morning. Great to have you on the show. Help us understand a little bit more about Tata Steel's strategy to decommoditize the steel category, and has it yielded the results that you intended so far?
So the journey for the branding actually for us started about 20 years back. And one of the main issues in branding which is required is to convey to the consumer what you are buying. So we have to write a steel company's name on the product which you're going to sell, because you're going to pick it up from the shop across the country. And if you can't see the authenticity of the product, which is the mill from where it has come from, then you don't rely on the product which you're buying. So while we have specifications on one side, we have to write Tata Steel on the product. And that has been one key differentiator which we started with 20 years back. And after that, many customers have liked that. And of course, other competition have also followed. The second thing for us was in the branding, from where do you buy? So right product to buy, which is through the branding of writing steel, Tata company's name on it. And second one is from place to buy. But as a consumer, you want to be sure that you're buying from an authorized place. And that was the second thing which was done to do the channel development around the country. If you ask me what is left to be done, I think the journey is ongoing, because as we are developing and as we are expanding, we are getting more and more consumers, new consumers come in, and we want to do more and more applications of steel to come in. So we have started to do solutions and applications in steel, which is the next frontier for branding.
Right. Also, Piyush, help me understand, you've been working on addition to more value-added products. How much sales is now under the branded category, and what is the potential for growth that you see here?
So when we started the branding journey, we were hardly doing less than 5% of our sales as branded products. And today we do about 40% of our sales as branded products. When you say value-added products, you would categorize them in two parts. One is the products per se, which means superior grades, better products made from superior mills. And the second category is solutions, which means as a consumer, you would have bought steel and got somebody else to do the fabrication or processing of steel, but we can do that processing and we can supply a solution. So in the solution space, you will find some of our newest offerings like Tata Pravesh doors, which is using a steel product, but offering a solution called door. Similarly, we can do items which are used in construction, ready to use steel on the construction site. So that will be part of a solution. So value added is the broad banner. You have products and you have solutions.
Well, the idea is to clearly make steel branded. How do you propose you will be able to keep the volatility aspect out of the brand here? Because the minute you say brand means pricing power. But the minute I say steel, it is volatility and vagaries of a commodity cycle.
So let us split your question in two parts. One is anything which has got a branding on it and which is sold to a retail consumer, typically it will face lesser volatility. Because as a consumer, you're coming in, your house is getting built, or in a rural setting, your dwelling is getting a new roof, and you would be very keen to get a right product for the dream house which you're going to build in. And you come into the market to buy that particular product or solution at that stage. But when a B2B setting is there, which is the second block, wherein you will certainly see the volatility. And in that case, you will compare the price of steel because you're only buying a product at that point in time. So one of the strategies or one of the objectives of doing the branding was to reduce the volatility which we face in the steel cycle.
The steel prices which saw a blip in the month of Feb, they've gone right up. Is this largely because of demand coming from China, which had shut down because of the lunar year operations?
So internationally, steel prices have been quite stable and also on the uppish trend. I think the world is getting used to the new normal, when I say new normal, I mean higher raw material commodity prices and also spreads which are there, which any steel company will enjoy based on the steel price, less the raw material cost which they face. So the spreads also have been in a stable zone or towards a higher normal zone. And that's why we see steel prices internationally have been on the upper side of the quartile. We expect this thing will continue because already we are seeing discussions going on and announcements going on by international majors to say, we would like to have more and more steel used in the domestic markets. The domestic demands in various economies are strong, and therefore there's lesser trade which is going to happen. Even in India also we see a robust domestic demand, which will get reflected in the improved prices. So after the blip, as you say, which has happened in February, we have started to see things climbing back again. And things will be more in a stable, robust zone for the coming year. We have to be used to the new normal, which is the current operating numbers in the international markets now.
Okay, steel consuming sectors have also been voicing their complaints of shortage, as well as an increase in prices. We've been tracking some of those developments. Now, to what extent is the increase in prices due to global factors vis-a-vis raw material prices?
So as a steel company and as well as a responsible industry, we would like to supply steel as much as possible to the domestic market. And that is what we have been doing. It's only in the pandemic period that we started to do higher exports. As the domestic demand has started to come back in, we have started to reduce our exports. Our stated position is to control the exports and supply more and more steel to the domestic market. I think if the consumers have a choice to buy from the domestic mills, it's better for them because the supply chain costs are lower. They don't have to keep longer inventories or larger inventories, and they can see the steel which is going to come to them in 15 days or 3 weeks' time. When you are looking at the trade per se, I think what India has proven is that we have a competitive position. It's a competitive industry because we could compete in the international arena. We were able to export a higher quantity this year. So as India as a country has become a net exporter of steel once again in 2021, FY21. And we believe that this position will be there even in the coming year, although it will not be very high exports because, as I said, the direction of the movement is go towards domestic sales and support the domestic demand.
Sure. Okay. Also, when we're looking at the current supply-demand dynamic then for, steel in India, we do know that demand is expected to rise. What's the picture on the supply side? What are inventory levels like currently?
So if you see the pre-pandemic period, we were consuming a little over 100 million tons. As part of the pandemic and we got hit in the first quarter, the steel consumption last year in terms of the user consumption came down by about 12 to 13%. We have started to see things to be better. So most of the industries, whether it is automotive, construction, appliances, or even capital goods, have indicated double-digit growth. And if that were to translate into GDP plus growth, which has to come in the steel industry, which is the steel demand, we will see comeback again of more than 100 million tons in the coming year. And this will be basically coming back to pre-pandemic period. So we have lost 1 year in the whole cycle, but we believe that the coming year or maybe the coming 3 to 4 years are expected to be very good period from the demand point of view. Because you have to build India, you have to make India first, and that's what is required by the infrastructure.
What about supply, the gap between domestic prices and import parity prices?
Yeah, so in terms of the supply, I think most of the producers have indicated higher of 90% levels of utilization. We have to still see the safety and health of our employees wherever we are, whatever steel companies are operating. But integrated steel producers are still talking of higher 90% range in terms of the utilization levels. It was the secondary market which had taken a hit during the pandemic. Even that sector has also started to come back. This is primarily in the long products. And so we will see a better utilization levels in the country in the coming year. And if that is there, we will start to see more and more a balanced situation of demand and supply, which will be there operating in 21-22. We still don't have very high inventory levels in the industry. I think most of the inventory levels are pretty lower than the normal levels, and therefore steel companies will operate at a good utilization level in the coming year. In terms of the import duties, as you very well know, that more than 60% of the steel comes in from free trade agreed countries like Japan and Korea. So that particular steel does not have any impact on the duties. But otherwise also, as I say, if you can get domestic supply catering to their requirements, and most of the steel companies have lived up to that standard in terms of producing steel, which is required by even demanding and discerning sectors. I think there is a very good reason for our customers to buy local, and which is what we are also propagating. The last thing is in terms of the prices, as you asked. So still domestic prices are a discount to the international market. Most of the analysts are talking about it. People can read the international numbers which are there. So we believe that there is still a headroom available for us to go in. How much of that headroom is utilized by the steel companies, we will come to see in the next few months. But from the demand point of view, it's a robust demand situation. Supply situation is balanced. No, as such, a great inventory in the system, and therefore prices, should correct in terms of what's happening in the international markets.
Do you see the impact of iron ore prices moving? I know Tata Steel still has a captive mine, but apart from that?
Yeah, so I will talk about 2 or 3 challenges and how, as Tata Steel, we have tried to address it. Our first challenge was about the supply chain cost, which we will have. So depending on the markets which we cater to, whether it is international or the domestic, we have tried to use an optimum mix of rail, road, and also started to use coastal shipping. That has been a very good factor by which we have been able to keep our supply chain costs under check. We have seen ocean freights being under control all through the pandemic period. They've started to go up recently, but otherwise our cost of delivered steel to our customers, whether international or in domestic, is quite competitive. We have not seen those increases which typically one would observe as part of the inflation. We've also received very good support from railways. They have been very supportive in announcing various policies which supports the traffic, which is moved on the rails as opposed to roads. And of course, as I mentioned, coastal has been a big relief and as a new idea which we have factored in.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Mr. Gupta, and helping us get a sense of how things are shaping up there.